this is going to take you through a process that I use when I'm making a collage. So if I jump into Photoshop, what I've got here is I've got a lot of images that I've already kind of clear cut. So I've got the fish, I've got these two images here that I've done through the channels. So if I check the channels, you can see them in here. So back to my layers, and as I go up, so I've got an image here of Tanya that's been clear cut. I've got another image here of a sign, a radio. This one here that's the side of a boat. Some pots, and you can see these things if I switch on the channel, it switches it off, and you can see the whole image. Shift, click on it again, and I can see it with the mask. This one, which is a strange one, where I've kind of used the magic wand tool. Keep going through. So I've got an assortment of all of these images. What I'm going to create in the end is I'm going to try and create something like this. So it's a bit of a process where some images work, some images don't. What's the priority? Going through and working them all together. So in my case, I quite like this image here. The other one that I like is this one of Tanya. There's another one here that's a shield. So I'm going to play with these images first. So immediately, the thing that I see with this is that I can probably get that shield and run it down the edge of Tanya's face. So it kind of runs alongside the face. If I want, I can go Command T. What I do is I get the center point, click and hold down and drag it into the middle of that, and I can come up here and go to the angle. Maybe I'll put it on minus 11. It's a wee bit much. Maybe I'll try minus 8. Maybe even a little bit less. I'm just going to do very, very slight, like minus 4, just a little bit of an angle that lines up with the head a wee bit more. And so with these images, I'll start to play with them. So what I want to do here is I'm going to click on the mask of Tanya, and actually I'll just move that layer up a bit closer to these, and I'm going to Command click on the mask for Tanya, and then I'm going to click on the mask for the shield. And what this does is it lets me come in, grab a brush, and actually I'll make it soft. Close that maybe a little bit bigger, and now with black to block it, I'm just going to combine these a little bit. So you can see it's starting to fade into the glasses. I'm going to come here, and I'm going to kind of fade in softly a bit more of this ear. So the image is kind of coming in and out. But here, it kind of sits across the shoulder. Maybe I'll just soften it at this end where it comes in a wee bit. Just having a little bit of a transition there between the two images. Now this was the other one that I liked at the same time. So what I'm going to try and do is move, click on this image and move it until it kind of slots in a wee bit. And there's this curve just here, so I'm going to try and line this up. So what I can do is I can have this bit coming in over the top, but actually the shield blocking some of this as well. So we get this kind of nice transition between the two. So what I want to do here is look at the way that it comes in over the image. So if I again click on the mask of Tanya, so command click on it, then I can come in and I can control the way that this image comes across. So I can click on the mask, and again, nice soft brush. I can come in with black, and I can kind of control the way that it fades in a bit. I'm going to pick a nice big brush, so I'm getting a really kind of a softness across here, getting a little bit of softness at the top as well, maybe Command Z, that might be a bit much. I'll make the brush bigger, so I'm just using the very soft edge of that and just tinting a little bit as it comes in over the top. That's too much, Command Z, so maybe I'll just take the opacity down and build that up a wee bit. There we go. I'll go with that Command Z. Now I'd quite like to have it so that the finger comes across a wee bit. So again, I'm going to Command click on this and just come back up onto the mask here. I'm going to put it back up to 100%, and I'm just clearing a bit of this off the hands. Command D. Now this bit, if I have a look at it, what I want is this thumb to be nice and clear as it comes over the image. So in this case, I need to be able to work on the mask, but I won't know exactly where it is. So if I duplicate this layer and I just dump the mask, then I can have this over the top of this image, and it means I can come down onto this mask and I can get a brush, and I'm going to make it a little bit soft just because the thumb's a bit blurred. I'll make it smaller, and then what I'm doing is 100%, I'm on black, is I'm literally painting this thumb back in. If I switch this off, you can see what it's doing, but because I can't quite see the image, I'm just using this image above to show me where everything is, so that I can get the edges about right. Switch it off. Great. And so it's bringing that thumb back into focus. And I could even have it here where if I click back on Tanya, command click, and go to the mask, this area here, I think I kind of did it a wee bit too much. So I'm just taking it back to white, and I'm going to try and paint a wee bit of that image back in. So it's just the thumb kind of coming into some sort of clarity. At the same time, I can go Command Shift I, so that selection is around the other way, and then with black as my foreground color, you can see I'm just blocking off that bit under the glass. So we're starting to get an element of control coming into this image. At this stage as well, I think it needs a lot more space around it, so I'm just going to get the cropping tool white space is always going to be huge. I can always crop it down afterwards, but I'll give myself a bit of space for a start. Great. Now there's an option here as well that's called match color, and I'll show you what that does. So I'm on the right layer. That one could go in the trash. We don't need that anymore. So there's my layer with Tanya on it. Image, adjustments, match color. So the name of the file, Swiss BSD. The layer is layer 10. That's what we're trying to match it to, and you can see it instantly changes the color of the image of Tanya. So if I go neutralize, fade takes it back to what it is. So we need to play around with these. So obviously the luminance is a wee bit too bright. So if I dial it down a bit, the color intensity, I might bump it up a wee bit. So it's giving this kind of almost stony color look of this into this image. The fade I can adjust between the old image and the new image, but I'm going to keep that down. I'm going to keep something that's quite soft in its tone and opacity that lines up with this. So maybe I'll darken it up a little bit more. Yep, okay, I'll go with that. Okay, so trying to match those two together. So the next option I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at so there's those three. I'm going to look at this image here, and so I'm going to chuck that in the front. And move it down to where I think it would work. So I'm going to look at an area like this, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and have it so it comes behind this part through the picture, but stops in here somewhere. And actually, I want it to be a little more clear around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the selection of Tanya, go to this, and I'm going to paint with white, and that's just going to take this beer glass out. Command Shift I, so I can work in the bottom of that, and at the same time I'm going to go back on this image, so I'm on the actual image, not the mask, and I'm just going to do a little selection around here, because you can see that it painted in a bit of this grey, and I don't want that there, so I'm just using the image as a mask again. And then I can come back on here, black blocks out, and I can paint that out. There's a wee bit there that comes from, I would say, the image of Tanya, so again I can click on that, knock that bit out as well. And I just want this clean edge for this image here as I kind of line it up. So what I'm going to do is I'll use the mask of this. I'll go Command, click on that mask. I'll go up to the mask that relates to this this image, I'm just going to paint this out with white. Actually, I'll do it a wee bit more carefully than that, so I'll get a decent brush here and paint this out with white. If I go over this edge a little bit, that's okay. And that's because I can change it to X, and I can come back in here and I can just paint that so it looks like it's got a nice hard edge. Back over here, I can do something. I can do something similar. So just so I don't get too confused, clicked on that mask there. I'm up on this one, and I need to change it to black, so it's blocking it. And drawing through here, trying to get this this hard edge again. So again, with a small brush, I can swap it around to white, and I can just try and paint in that edge. Okay, and then Command D, getting rid of that that selection. I can have it so that if I come back with black, it's going to block out. And now I'm going to try and use these options here. So with this, I'm going to Command click on the mask of Tanya, come back up to the mask by the hillside, and then use that as a barrier so I can go over it and paint out that hill. So I want to do some brushing on the ends of this and get it so it looks halfway decent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this image and I'm going to use it to get a texture. So if I go Command A, Command C to copy it, go to my channels, make a new channel, Command Delete, which fills it with white because that's the background color, Command V, so I paste it in, and I'm just going to go to the levels. I'm going to try and get a texture out of this painting, because I think the painting will end up making a really nice paintbrush texture. And if I Command plus in, I'll go OK, and then with a black paintbrush, I'll paint some of this stuff out and make it a little bit harder. And I think I'm going to pick an area in here to make a paintbrush out of, because I think I can get a really lovely brush out of some of these areas. So with this, I'm just going to select this, Command Shift I, Option Delete, which fills with black, Command D, Command I, and now I'm just going to draw around this area here, and I'm going to go Edit, define it as a brush. I call it Tanya, go OK, Command D, and then to test it here, the bit that's the main bit here is to set these settings, because if I draw with that, horrible. So if I click here and I look at what's happening to this picture, the dynamics, I'm going to push the jitter right up to the top on the shape dynamics. The minimum, I'm going to leave it. The angle, I'm going to spin it until I kind of like the angle that's appearing here. The roundness, I'm going to bump up a bit as well. And the minimum, I've bumped up a little, so it's kind of softening that edge a wee bit. The scattering, if I push the scattering up, the count, how blocky that's going to be, and I want it to be a little bit fuller through here, not so kind of empty. I want it to be a nice kind of solid shift. The jitter count, I'm going to push it right up, and that kind of roughens it a bit for me. So I'm going to go with that. And let's just try on the channel. We'll give it a paint. Nice. It's making a really nice pattern. So with this, I can dump that channel. I don't need it. It was just to make a brush. Go to my layers. And now with this here, we'll have a look. So what I can do is I can use the selection of this area here and go Command-Shift-I, so it selects this area out here. Go to my mask on my landscape, and now I can paint it. Make it a bit bigger, so I can get this kind of interesting, more painterly looking brush coming through. If I come down this end, now you need to use the mask around Tanya. So if I command click on here and I go Command-Shift-I, so it's got this area out here selected. I can get this with all these lovely little incidentals. So it's a really nice way to finish off that image. Command D. So let's go a bit further and see what we've got. This image, I'm not sure because of the quality of it that I could really get it to fit in. I can look at the modes here, hard light or soft light. Hard light's kind of interesting. I'll come back to that one. It's a bit awkward, so I just switch that off. Not every image you have to use. Sometimes you just can't get them to fit in, and this is part of the dynamic process. So I'll take this one at the top. Again, I might just leave that for the time being and come back to it. What else have we got? This one, I'll click on the layer, drag it up here. Drag it up a bit further, maybe even up above the landscape. And I'll try this with some blending modes and see what I can get. Okay, I like the color dodge. I don't want a darker one, I want a lighter one, so it's like the light seeping in through a camera almost. I might go for this one. Shuffle it around. And of course I can use the mask to chop around that area on the outside if I want to, but at the moment I'll just leave that, so like that. This one, let's pop that up the top and see what we've got. Okay, so the radio clock. So with this one, Command T, gonna scale it a bit. Yeah, okay. It's a wee bit dark at the moment, so I'm just going to go Command L. But actually, I can do that through the options down here, the levels. Just going to clip it though, so it's only affecting by holding down the Option key. I can clip or unclip. It just means it's only going to work on this temperature thing. Levels. Yeah, okay. Lighten it. Maybe I'll lighten it a wee bit overall and pull the blacks in. Yeah, okay. I'll go with that, and I'm going to make it jump out a wee bit by putting a layer underneath, and I'm just going to put in my own kind of manufactured drop shadow. So all I do here is I click on the paintbrush. I'm going to take it back to a little bit of a more regular brush, nice and soft. 400, okay. And I'm just going to paint a bit in behind it like this. Usually what I do is I automatically go multiply, and at this stage I soften the opacity to get the amount of subtlety I want with this kind of drop shadow. We've got that. Let's see what else we've got here. Got a sign. Just gonna check that in behind it. I won't rotate it. I'll just leave it as it is. Got this one through the channels. Might chuck that right up the top. See if we can work that in as some sort of overlay. I'll just switch it off for the time being. We've got our map. Oops, just click on the layer. I might bring it in like that. I like this negative space seeping in, and then I can just go layer, layer mask, reveal all, so it's just a blank one. We know that black blocks out, so I can rub it out where it sticks out the top. Again, I could do something here where if I get this mask for this, I could duplicate the image, pop one above it, and oops, go to the mask with black and mask it a bit so it comes in over the top. Command Shift I, fill it with black just so it's not going over this other map here, and I'm just going to see if I can change it to I was going to choose multiply so that it looks a bit better over the top there. Mixing things in a wee bit. I've got the fish. Yeah, okay, I might just bump them out a wee bit. There's a few things here where if I click on the mask of the fish and let's go, if we duplicate this image and we drag one right up to the we're after this bit here. And I clip it, it's going to be clipped to this image, so it's only showing up over here, because I kind of wanted this this fish to come back over the top. So what I'll do is with the selection, I can come in here, and actually I probably don't even need that selection for this. I can just go to the black and paint it off. It's clipped, so it's only really affecting over the top of this phone, and I'm just having that one fish come in. If I change it to X, I could start to paint that image back in again, but I won't. I'll just leave it as that. Okay, so we have all of that. That's, I think, maybe all of the images. So the one that I thought I might still be able to get to work is the one of the pots, this one here. So if I come in and have a look at this image here, how I could get it to work. I don't really like the what it's doing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it so that it's underneath the landscape image. Okay, so I can see the bottom of it coming out a wee bit. And what I'm going to do is with this, I'm going to command click. So I've got that. Then if I go to the landscape image here, the mask, I can paint back into it. Black blocks out, so I get black, and when I paint, you can see the top of the pots, the rocks, in this case, starting to creep back in. So I'm just letting some things show through and some things I'm not. So Command D, I've got a bit there, and then what I'm going to do is with that, with the pots, I'm now going to go back and pick my my brush, and on the mask with black, I'm going to see if I can just take that hard edge off a wee bit along the bottom, reduce and enlarge the size of this a bit. And now we have this mixture between the landscape controlling the edge a wee bit, you can see it popping in under the pot, and the two of them together. So they're starting to mix in quite nicely. The next one, I've got this image right at the top. I'm just going to go Command Shift Delete, which fills it with white, and I can see here that it stands off against the background, so that tells me that this solid color I did before isn't pure white. So if I click on it, I have a look at it, right, tiny little bit there, so I just go 0, tab 0, so all 0 for CMYK, okay, and it's white on pure white. So now we get this kind of nice break that's happening. So I'm going to go open, and I'm going to bring in a paint mark, this one. So I'll select all and cut it. Command window, don't need that. I can go to the channels, I make a new channel. I start with white, so Command Delete, fill in with the background color, Command V, and if I put the eye on beside, it doesn't have to be red, beside RGB, I can see the whole image, and now I can scale it. So the size I like. And I quite like that this mark comes out through the bottom, so I'll go OK with that. Command D, Command I on my channel so I can load it up, load it, and now with the layers I'm going to come right back to the top, make a new layer, and I'm going to fill it with a colour. So I'm going to go I, pick that pinky colour, maybe make it a wee bit darker, go Option Delete, and there we go. We've got that colour. So what I'm going to do here is, using the brush, I'm going to eat into this a wee bit. So what I'll do is I'll pop it underneath so I can see all that white for a start, and I'll start to manipulate where I see it and where I don't. So with this, I'm going to put a layer mask, reveal all. So this sits beside the lettering, and I know that black is going to block out. I've still got my funny brush, so I can come up here and let's see if we can reduce that brush down a wee bit, and in some little areas, so the R, I can swap the X around so I can get this bit back. Command X so it's white again, and I can try, X, we want black again. First aid, and whether I want it to come through in some other areas. I think probably with this area up here, I'm going to do the opposite, where I go to this layer with the mark on it, reveal all, and with black, I'm going to paint that out so it just kind of disappears a bit there and doesn't interfere. So we're getting some good looking stuff happening, and then this just becomes an interplay now. So for instance, if I want to see a bit of the radio, then I would find the mask with the radio, Command click on it, and then I would come back up to the mask that's beside that mark making, and then I can come in here and say, okay, on here I want to see a bit more of the screen. I can either leave a bit of detritus there, or I can clean it completely off. So I have the leeway to kind of control that a wee bit. So again, where's my shield? Command click on that. No, I don't want the mark to go across that, and I certainly don't want it to go across Tanya's head. So command click on that, and I can clean that off her face. Command D, and are there other areas that I want to clean up, her shirt or whatever? No, I'm fine. I'll leave it with that. I'll just check and see if any of the transparency modes work with this, but I think I'm just going to leave it on normal. It's got a nice bit of negative space around it, and we'll leave it there.